Okay, thank you everyone for joining us tonight for our phenomenal March 2026 ASQ Innovation Session. You are in for such a treat because tonight we are speaking about innovation in the digital ecosystem of service organizations. And our phenomenal guest speaker tonight is Mr. Zubair Anwar. He is a senior consultant, trainer, and academic leader with over 20 years of international experience across many different areas of our quality and excellence and solutioning life cycle. He is also a principal consultant at the Beats Center of Excellence and has served across a plethora of public and private organizations. He is certified as a Six Sigma Black Belt, CMQOE, and a professional engineer. And he specializes in bringing Lean Six Sigma, Industry 4.0, digital transformation, ESG, and organizational development, thought leadership, and expertise to organizations around the globe. He is also an author, mentor, and a body of knowledge leader, and has published extensively both within and external to ASQ. You can connect with him when I give you this deck at his LinkedIn profile. So Zubair, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it off to you. Let's welcome to our virtual stage tonight our phenomenal guest speaker, Mr. Zubair Anwar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onda, for inviting me to this very important session. And I really have a very aggressive agenda today in the backdrop of innovation in the digital ecosystem of service organizations. So thank you very much for a brief introduction. Hope our audience, they would know about my contributions in ASQ and beyond when they receive the deck for this presentation. So what I'm going to cover today in today's talk. So quickly, I'll share what has changed over time in the service organizations and why they have become focal in the economies worldwide. So those changes, what challenges they have brought to the quality profession and professionals. And in order to provide a solution, I'll discuss a model that I call integrated quality centered innovation ecosystem model. And with this model, we'll see what are the new evolving roles for the quality professionals in digital systems. We'll see the insights from industries, and obviously at the end, I have certain recommendations to make under call to action. And I have not forgot to include a slide to advise our young quality professionals and mid-career to focus on the emerging skills which are now very necessary in the modern digital age. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we see what has happened over the 2 decades time, so services and the service sector has taken over the manufacturing sector, which dominated for over 1 century in the era of modern management, starting from early 20th century. So today, the service sector and service organizations make up most of the GDP part in the global economy, in the developed countries' economy, as well as in the developing countries' economies. With the advent of Industry 4.0 technologies, we have now digital platforms which are now redefining the value. So the value, the term value has become a buzzword now, which actually talks about the business benefits of any service. And very important that innovation has not been confined to once in a blue moon time, but it has become a continuous phenomena, and it is now distributed all over the ecosystem. So for example, if I ask you how many of you believe quality still sits within organizational boundaries, right? So in my experience, I interact with several quality professionals and engineers, and I see that they have still that conservative approach that they have to think about quality within their organizational boundary. But that's not correct anymore. So because in the digital world today, quality does not depend only on your organization, on your staff, on your people, and the data that is within your vicinity. So uh, I spoke about a new term that we call ecosystem, and I'll explain it. How does it work? And because of that ecosystem phenomena, you can't control the quality residing within your organization. You really have limited control over it. So it is now more of a coordination function across all the entities in the ecosystem. So today, if you look at the ecosystem of, for example, healthcare, for example, social media, for example, telecommunication, for example, public sector, what do you see? You see that the efforts by the orchestrator of those organizations ecosystem is not just focused to their direct customers, to their direct employees. They think about all the entities present in that ecosystem, and that actually creates a business context shift. And what is that shift which is happening now? It is no more organization centric. So the thinking has to go on ecosystem centric. The approaches have to be much bigger in scope. The horizon has widened. So the controlled processes have converted into shared processes. So these processes are now shared amongst the entities and actors of those ecosystems. And the quality is not now internal that you would create and deliver to the customer. It's now distributed. And let's refresh our concept about service ecosystem. So it's a dynamic network of service providers, partners, platforms, and users. Today, we don't talk about value creation. We talk about co-creation of service value. Today, we talk about collaborations. We talk about co-opetitions. So there are so many new phenomena taking place in the service organization ecosystems. And that is mainly on the account of advent of Industry 4.0 technologies, which has given birth to the term quality 4.0. And it is the juxtaposition of technologies by applying quality principles into the digital business models so that these technologies help to predict, adapt, and do intelligent automation. And the fundamental part for these are the technologies that are now present all around us, including artificial intelligence, technologies helping us in automation, real-time monitoring, for example, using augmented virtual reality, using Internet of Things, algorithms, big data frameworks, cloud computing, blockchain, 3D manufacturing or additive manufacturing, so on and so forth. So this whole dynamics have created challenges for quality profession and the quality professionals. Before, it was confined and limited to the service provider organization, and they used to be the main custodian, steward of the quality of service that they were supposed to deliver. So it was very easy to apply frameworks such as ServQual, Service Quality Framework, and find out the gaps where you could improve the perception of the customer to meet the expectation. But today we have got so many stakeholders. Before, data used to be in the service provider organization. Today, with the network of so many entities and players, data is fragmented, and the control over that data is also under question. And the processes, they are distributed because of the associated platforms, associated developers. For example, they are providing software development kits and APIs to integrate, the other actors, the partners, the collaborators, the agents, even the bots. So there are so many standards now in place. We are not just talking about one standard, for example, ISO 9001 or just ISO 20000 for service quality. So what does that mean? It means we have a challenge. It's not now merely inspecting quality in an ecosystem. We can't do that. We can only make sure that when it is grown, when it is established, when it is set up, quality is part of it. So that means we, as a quality professional, need to understand the ecosystem dynamics as a first priority so that we could design it while developing our ecosystem. If I ask you, where does your quality responsibility end today? Is it, given the option, is it inside the organization, or is it extended to the suppliers, partners, or you take it to the customers and users, or it is across the entire ecosystem? So yes, the answer is it is across the entire ecosystem. That's a big horizon, and we need to scan that horizon, and we are going to talk about it in a little while. So with this dynamics of ecosystem, the quality roles are continuously evolving, and they have now become a composite function. So before, it was only assurance while delivering this service. Now you have to enable it across the ecosystem. Before, it was controlled because you were able to define it and you were able to appraise it. Now you have to collaborate to make sure that you build that quality value chain. And it is no more limited or confined to compliance. Now it is about the capacity. So people are, for example, being added up in the ecosystem without any early time required for the preparation. So you have to be super proactive. You have to think about the capacities, to how many ecosystem player, users, partners, platforms you can accommodate with the design of the quality that you have thought about and made part while you were developing the ecosystem. So now I come up with a model that I call integrated quality centered innovation ecosystem model. So this is a model that I have thought upon for several years and tested with certain organizations globally. So how I do look upon this quality phenomena in the ecosystem. So now I would emphasize that we have to look across 5 pillars in the ecosystem, right? While keeping quality at the center, and that quality is still with those principles, frameworks, tools replaced with modern technology, but the principles and the frameworks remain there. So the teachings of quality gurus of Deming and Duran and my old buddy Crosby and Japanese gurus all remain intact. Principles remain intact. Application now we can apply through technologies. So standards, continuous improvement is there, but the horizon has changed, right? So we need to scout for other pillars. And what are those? Number one, innovation. Two, digital technologies and data. Three, capability, skills and culture. And fourth, collaboration and partners in the ecosystem. So let me take it one by one and expand it a little bit for your understanding by relating it to the things that happens in your places. So keeping the quality as foundation or the center of this model, we still need to think in a systematic way. For example, about process excellence, standardization, risk management. Remember that keeping quality in the center means we are talking about stability. We are talking about the central role of quality professionals. But this has to be augmented through innovation. And what is that? Quality professionals need to upskill and reskill with the new knowledge. Remember, Einstein said, knowledge is infinitely renewable resource. So this is the time to invest in your skills, not the individuals only, but also the organizations. They need to enhance their knowledge systems and they need to found their quality systems across the ecosystem. So when we say innovation, and I initially said innovation is now not once a blue moon phenomena, it is now constant. Innovation cycles are rapidly increasing. We have one innovation, one disruption, second comes in. So the life cycle is reducing. We need to understand the innovation life cycle. So for example, if we have implement ISO 56000 innovation management system, we need to embed it with the quality system. We need to enhance the scope across the ecosystem. So there could be ways, for example, agile experimentation, prototyping, customer-centric design. I'm sure that all this would help us to pace up, to maintain the speed which we now require in the modern technology era. The third thing is digital enablement. And by that, we have now new new business models. Very powerful business model is cloud computing. And with the power of cloud computing and artificial intelligence and other associated technologies, we have data analytics, we have AI tools, and now we have to scale the processes up across the ecosystem. So it is really complex. It's easier said than done, but we need to understand the dynamics. So for example, when I say cloud platforms, you should be aware that platformization is the new term that is coming in and taking over the technology world and the quality world. We need to understand the dynamics of ecosystem integration. So that's where you could orchestrate the whole ecosystem by taking its control, by putting yourself in the design when it is grown. So who are the part of that ecosystem? Partners, suppliers, customers, platforms, bots, users. Mind my words that I'm using. I'm not just saying entities limited to human. I'm saying bots are also now part of that ecosystem. So whoever you bring on the ecosystem by connecting, interconnecting, allowing to participate in the dynamics of an ecosystem, you have to make sure that you democratize roles, you empower them. This is how the ecosystem works. But if you don't have quality in the design or you did not incorporate quality thinking while you were innovating, that would create intricacies later on. Very importantly is capability. And it is about what? It is about the skills and the impact. We said innovation life cycles are on the rise. Technologies are changing at a very high pace. What does that mean? We need to upskill the workforce. Sometimes we need to reskill them. We have to think beyond the organization because the quality is not just within the organizations. So how the associated entities with the ecosystem would learn. So we need to think about community learning, and we have to be very thoughtful about social value creation, because today ecosystem is about social value creation, and that would ensure the sustainability. So how it works? Pretty simple. As I have explained, quality provides structure, innovation would create idea, digital would scale it, ecosystem amplifies across the entities, and capability, it sustains. And my observation that organization do invest in innovation and digital, but fail in quality and ecosystem because they can't collaborate them well. And this is the reason they don't scale their innovation. So if I ask you, which part is weakest in your organization? Is it quality? Is it innovation? Is it digital? Is it ecosystem? Or is it capability? So this model provides you a starting point to think and ponder and conduct a gap analysis. See where you are lacking and how you should build upon this 5 pillar model. So, but if you have carefully seen that I have put the quality in the center, and why I did that, because if you don't incorporate quality while you innovate, it is missed from the beginning, from the scratch, from the zero. So if quality professional cannot lead innovation, that would pose question on his or her capacity. So that's why things are now becoming, more composite. And it's time for quality professionals to upskill and reskill. And that's really important because that would, reduce the risk level that an organization can afford. And we should be very glad that quality professionals are those people who are trained to bring discipline not only in innovation but across the organizational functions. So that's why quality would enable a reliable innovation that would stay, that could evolve, and that would give you a sustainable performance. It would not become a bubble which would burst after it faces competition or internal pressure or the glitches from the platformization. It's a new term that I have again told you the name, platformization, because now we have clouds, we have AI, we have bots dictating you, interacting with you with a very high pace. So with this model, what are the evolving roles that we have now in the organizations? And we would have new roles in the coming years, like in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 7 years' time. So what I am telling you, that's going to help you, for example, over a decade. So you are future proof with this model and with upskilling and upgrading yourself to fit the new roles. So what are those new roles? So number one is innovation champion. And I would a little bit explain, although there are time limitation, but I would try to, you know, little bit explain every role. We have digital quality architect role, we have capability builders, and we have ecosystem leaders. So now we have to look beyond our stature, honestly speaking. So who is an innovation champion? So it's the one who drives structured experimentation, dare to do experiment, right? Dare to know, dare to perform. With the quality thinking in mind, applying PDCA, Deming's Shoe-Heart Wheel, a lean thinking, right? And I'm not speaking alienated language. This is what we do in ISO 56000 when we talk about innovation in process, innovation in service, innovation in method, and we have, you know, sky is the limit. We have all the channels open to do innovation, but we have to embed quality from the start. So quality professionals, they have to ensure that innovation is done disciplined and it does not just take place as an accident. So it's not now a discovery or an accidental discovery. It is now a process within a corporation. Another role is digital quality architect. And what is that? It's about using your data. So enabling data-driven quality, right? We have other names for it also, data-driven decision making, data analytics, you know, but whatever is done based on the facts that we call data. But how you get the data? Are you getting it over CSV files? Do you extract as an Excel file and then you import it in Power BI? Or you do it in Minitab? It's a question mark to you. Can you get the data across the ecosystem? Or you are limited to your own organization? Or you are just worried about doing within your domain, I mean the physical. So how the quality concepts or the quality controls should be embedded when you are designing that data system, right? And we could jump into further data controls. So remember that data is the new oil. We say it so many times, data is the new oil. If you have control over data, whether it's a central repository or it's a federated repository, you can control the ecosystem. How? By designing quality functions right from the zero. And once you do it, you go with speed and you do it in a reliable way. Very important thing is ecosystem leader role. And what is that? Is to align partners, suppliers, and stakeholders. And how you can do that? The only thing that gives you leverage of doing it is the knowledge of modern technologies, because now platformization is the fabric that knits all the entities together in an ecosystem. So what are the standards across the network? If you define them right from the beginning, you are able to control it later. And remember that quality professionals, they have to extend trust beyond organizational boundaries. So I'm sure that you would agree that you are not now just limited to the physical organization you work in. It is now about the whole ecosystem, because the actors, entities in the ecosystem are now defining the quality levels. They are accepting or rejecting a service provider. So that's really important. Another important role is capability builder. So how do you develop yourself and the workforce? How do you plan the skills transformation? So we cannot just leave it to the HR with the classical thinking, you know. So it's very important for the quality people to take initiative. Why? We can define standard, we can buy technology, we can deploy it, we can build, you know, great processes, we can get compliances, certifications. But if the culture has not been created, promoted, if the skills have not been developed, this will ruin everything. You know, Drucker said, culture eats the strategy for breakfast. So it's really important. I mean, the capability builder. Now let me correlate whatever I have said to different tech industries so that you could assimilate it, whatever I'm sharing with you today. So there are several case studies, not just one. It's now happening, over last 5-10 years. So if we talk about the healthcare industry, the leading institution is Mayo Clinic. I'm sure you agree to this. If you closely look at the digital investments they have made to create the ecosystem. So what they have done, they have established simulation labs, they have created digital health platforms, and they have done AI assisted diagnostics. Remember that what is operating in the background? Platformization, understanding of expectations of ecosystem entities and players, including bots, including partners, including medics, including pharmaceuticals, including equipment providers. They are part of the ecosystem. So if I apply that 5-pillar model to a Mayo system, you will see, and I have actually prepared a table to reflect upon this. So if you look at the quality part, there are patient safety protocols and there is evidence-based care. So there are reasons that they are number one, and they are number one for the consecutive several years, 7-8 years globally. And if you look at the innovation part, they have devised methods for telemedicine, then AI diagnostics. It has not just happened coincidentally or accidentally. They have planned for it. So they have envisioned it as such. Very importantly, digital part. So there are electronic health records and analytics. And needless to mention that this is all compliant to HIPAA Act and GDPR and all those things, which provides protection to all the ecosystem players. And we have to now think from that perspective. And if we talk about ecosystem, I named already few actors. And capability, you have seen they are continuously training all the ecosystem players, either by themselves or by introducing programs like certifications, like orientations. So let's not forget that in healthcare ecosystem, quality is the foundation that enables safe innovation. Healthcare is about health of human. It's very sensitive, not only in terms of legal compliance, but also in terms of good and wellness of all the people. Let's take another example from IT industry, and I'm talking about Microsoft Reliable Services. It's a very huge operation done globally by Microsoft. And what they have done, they have successfully employed IT service management systems such as DevOps, such as site reliability engineering, and integrated them for doing continuous monitoring and automated quality checks. Now, you see, for example, if we talk about Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft Azure, Office 365, what are those things? They now reside on clouds. And Microsoft claims that most of the Fortune 500 organizations use their solutions, which resides on platforms and which is connected to several players, several entities, including bots. So the people who have such solutions, cloud solutions for their, for example, customer relationship management, for their enterprise resource planning systems, for their paperless quality management systems, they are all now residing clouds. So that's a very important thing. And they are under obligation to implement IT service management systems. So such as, ITIL, DevOps and SRE that I have already named. So if we look at from the lens of that 5-pillar model, what do we see? We see that quality is a reliability metric. So when we talk about, ITSM, IT service management, we have metrics in place which are standardized. So for example, service level agreement, for example, uptime. And if we see innovation, it is continuous deployment. Microsoft does not ask you to wait for 1 week until they could increase the capacity, they could do the further innovation, or they are proactive. So they have done it by investing on digital, which I said is about technology, infrastructure, and by collaboration in between ecosystem players, developers, enterprises. And what they have done, they have also democratized this knowledge and skill by introducing certification programs. So now you do not need to go in search of an institution that would help you to create a knowledge or a diploma program or a certification program, and you would be hitting against the wall to learn cloud and artificial intelligence and other things. They have already introduced certification programs. So Microsoft testing centers or the partners, they certify you, you go into the organizations managing all these, cloud data centers and IT operations and the business process outsourced operations on a global level, and you do it. And in IT service, quality is measured in reliability, speed, and user experience. That is really important. Let's not forget the government digital service case, GDS of UK. Likewise, we have GDS of US also, but the hierarchy and the database approach could be a bit different. But look at how they are managing it. They have created digital government platforms, and it is a focused effort on user-centered services. And who are the users? Citizens, agencies, and they have standard design principles. Again, I have linked it to the 5 pillars model. So quality is in the form of service standards, whether it is British standard or American standard or international standard. And then we have innovation in the form of digital public services. So now citizens connect to gov.uk or gov.us platforms. So the capability is digital skills training. So they are investing in capability also. And let's not forget that public sector innovation must be built on trust, and trust comes from quality. So that's why quality is at the center. And there are several other examples. Like I said, you can take examples from the United States. You can look at the GDS of US, although the architecture could be a bit different because it is federated database. And you could talk about the digital nation initiative that Singapore has launched for their digital citizens programs. You can look at some of the European countries who are doing it. So public sector is really important. They would set standard, they would ensure trust, they would promote transparency across the systems in order to do their constitutional obligations. So now, what is the call to action? So that's really important before I conclude and we jump into the question answer session. What is the roadmap for the organization? Now remember that I said in the beginning that we are talking about the situation which service organizations are facing. And by the virtue of that, quality professionals are also facing. So that's why in my presentation and in my model that I have explained to you, I have addressed organizational perspective as well as quality professional perspective. So how organization meet the challenge of ecosystem, quality, innovation, capability, and digital, and how do quality professionals, individuals upskill and reskill themselves to take the positions which are now being introduced and which would be part in the future. So like I said, innovation champion, I said ecosystem leader and capacity builder and orchestrator. So what is there for business organizations? So it's a roadmap. Once you apply this 5-pillar model, obviously there would be a complete program behind that, how to implement this model. But let's talk about high-level roadmap. So the starting point would be to assess current status, where you are today in terms of those 5 pillars. 2, which pillar you think you are weakest in. 3, you do pilot innovation initiative. And once it is successful, you expand it organization wide. And in parallel, you start skills development program and you scale it across ecosystem. Remember that this ecosystem thinking is now required. You have to think beyond yourself, beyond your organization. You have to think about partners, platforms, service provider, bots, users, dealers who are either promoting the service that you are providing and creating goodwill, or they are ruining whatever you are delivering by giving bad user experience. So if the organizations go around this 5 pillars model, what do they achieve? Now remember that organization-wide commitment, and we are talking about medium and large enterprise and corporations. They would require substantial time and sufficient steps to reach to a level. In business, they would become innovative and they would be doing faster innovations, better innovation cycles, better service quality, and better competitive advantage. And remember, when we talk about ecosystem, we also have social obligations. We also have social face now. So it's not just a corporate social responsibility anymore. So socially, you have to be a responsible organization. And how do you do that? By investing in workforce, by strengthening the ecosystem, and by doing inclusive growth. And let me quickly give you some examples. Look at IBM, how they are doing it. Look at HP, look at Microsoft offering you free courses so that they could socially meet their obligations. They could train the people, upskill them, and people as educated customer, people as skilled workforce, and people as good quality professionals could join those ecosystem and contribute to strengthen it. Now let's talk about the individual professionals. So what are the emerging skills which we have now around the globe in which people are investing? And remember, when we talk about individual professionals in today's time, where modern technologies are on the rise everywhere, for individual professionals, we as consultants and trainers, we recommend that individual professionals should invest in those skills which are soft skills, which are portable, and machines would take time to develop those skills. So don't waste your time in learning those skills which are now done by the machines, by the bots, by the robots, by robotic process automations. So what are those skills which still individuals can learn? How you respond in VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Learn emotional intelligence. Machines have no emotions. Curiosity, creativity, innovation, culture, communication. Learn voice of customer, voice of employees. Learn effective teamwork. Learn tech ecosystem. Learn how to co-create value. Digital experience, mentorship, networking, renew your knowledge, and see how to do divergent thinking and how to do convergent thinking and how to do change management. I'm telling you, if you look at the advices coming from World Economic Forum and other platforms, they are advising you to upskill, reskill continuously. So just don't sit, idle or contented for whatever you have learned till today. It's a continuous journey. So learn these skills and make and retain a place for yourself, because these skills still machines are not able to learn as we are speaking today. So another call to action is for American Society for Quality. So through the auspices of Innovation Division, Dr. Rhonda Farrell and other management team, I am putting up these recommendations for the attention of the professionals and the management in American Society for Quality. So ASQ, I suggest and I recommend they should review their quality body of knowledge to see, are they supporting digital ecosystem for service organizations? And we have few divisions or technical communities which are specifically created to look after the interest of service quality professionals and service organizations, which is Service Quality, Innovation, Quality Management, Financial Services Division. They may collaborate to start such initiative. I have been part of such initiative in the past. For example, I was member of QBOC peer group committee. I was the project manager and chair for service quality body of knowledge, where we updated it, but it was 7-8 years before. And other divisions should also review their body of knowledges. Are they able to support it? Now remember that even the manufacturing industries are repositioning themselves to become a service organization. So sooner or later, the services are going to take over the whole GDPs, and only fraction would remain, and that may be true in the underdeveloping countries. So that's a very important call to action for ASQ as well. And before I conclude and hand over to Dr. Rhonda for Q&A, I would like to quote a very important thing. And what is that? As quality professionals, we are no longer guardian of the past. We, as quality professionals, are architects of the future. And that is the crux of my talk from today's session. Over to Dr. Rhonda.
Thank you so much, Zubair. And what a phenomenal session, just integrating all aspects of our organization, the broader product and service ecosystems we work with, as well as the global drivers of this change that we're now experiencing, as well as the things that are on the horizon. So thank you so much for bringing this very important topic to us tonight and really challenging us forward to not only participate, but help shape in some form. Folks on the line, if you would like to put your questions in the chat, I will read them as they're doing that. Zubair, I will ask one question. You mentioned at the very end the importance of the rise of the service organization, and you talked a lot tonight about the life cycle from a product and an ecosystem perspective. For those who may be in service organizations, can you advise how we might build capacity and digital literacy across teams that ensure that their innovation oriented efforts are not only answering the mail for current state, but are sustainable going forward?
Yeah. So thank you very much for that very important question. I'm grateful that someone has asked about this, because this is something happening on the ground, the real issue, the real meat that people need. So in the service organization, if you are system oriented, you might have implemented ISO 56000. Even if not, you might have a corporate process in place for doing innovation. So innovation does not just automatically happens that someone would have a brainwave and people will run after it and they will say eureka and we will go for innovation in the process or in the product or in the service delivery. So there is a way of inviting people, for example, in the form of a research and development function. And commonly research, no, this is important. The whole organization, and I think that everyone should turn ear to this, whatever I'm going to say. All the people in an organization cannot do innovation by trying a new method, by having new idea every day, and by delivering the service in a new way to surprise the customer. It is not a plausible way, and it could ruin the brand and the image and the reputation. So the teams are responsible for service delivery. They would follow a certain procedure, right? Which whatever has been defined as an SOP. So how does innovation take place? The organization doing it separates these functions. So the people who are doing service delivery would be doing it in a prescribed manner as mentioned in the SOP or in the process. There would be another team behind responsible for making innovations in the form of research and development function or department. And they won't be doing it in isolation. They would be actually linked to the product life cycle committee or the functions where we have voice from all the stakeholders who are contributing in designing the product, uh, developing the product and delivering the product and providing after sales. So that means the design department, and if, for example, if it is IT, then development, design, and the service, the delivery, they come together, they present their ideas, how to innovate to R&D, and they would do it in a test lab. They would try the idea, they would improve the method, they will scale it up, and they will see if it was working in a controlled setting, how it would look like in the field setting. So this is how the innovation would be done in a corporate manner. So important thing, yes, other people could become part of that by observing it, or there could be several teams doing it. So organization would not be doing one innovation in one product at one time. There would be multiple teams doing it. One of the way that organizations adopt to upskill their staff so that they are exposed to this process is by asking them to join the team doing, for example, the product lifecycle development, or in the design, or in the R&D. R&D is a composite function, and we have representation from several departments. So that is a corporate way of training and exposing people to do the innovation, and that helps them to see how it takes place in real, not just as a bookish knowledge or as a theory. So hope that answers the questions. Do we have more?
It does, and I want to thank you so much, Zubair. There's so much to that, and we talked about a portion of this. I want to raise one point that you mentioned. Oftentimes, our innovation teams are separate from our quality teams, and our innovation teams might be proactive and future focused, and our quality teams might be more sometimes compliance oriented. What have you seen you mentioned R&D as being an integration point, but is there other places within an organization where they're more likely to weave innovation directly into perhaps our existing quality framework so that digital transformation and organizational transformation can become more continuous versus more episodic?
Great question. And Rhonda, that really gives me an opportunity to explain things a little bit more. First, we need to understand what is different between innovation and digital transformation, right? So innovation is new process or improved process, product, service, delivery, a new idea, new concept. So that is innovation. It may be a small improvement in the process. It may be a great improvement in the process. It may be a new product. And it would be a result of effort of a composite team, R&D or PLC. Digital transformation is different thing. Digital transformation means the organization engages in a large scale program to transform the whole organization into a digital form. For example, automation. So for example, if they are, let's take an example. HR department, do they only recruit for their own department? No, they recruit for the whole organization. Procurement, do they procure for themselves? No, for the whole organization. Marketing, do they sell just their own leaflets? No, they do it for the whole organization. Finance, do they get money for themselves only? No, for the whole organization. So first of all, we need to understand and recognize the importance of each organizational function. So comparing it, that HR is more strong than quality and quality is just compliance, sometimes it is the result of the organizational dynamics and politics. That's number one. Number two, important thing to understand that every department would be integrated with other departments because they are doing it for the organizational sake. And for that, for example, an organization recruits, they procure, and to procure, they interact with the stakeholder. To recruit, they interact with the stakeholder. To get money, they interact with the stakeholder. Technology has provided a solution for that, to make that interaction, connection, communication, response, organization level agreement, service level agreement better. For example, by providing computing solutions. Why we have so many computing solutions being evolved for the last 40 years? So we had mainframe computers, we had personal computers, we had grid computing, now we have cloud computing. Why one computing solution after another? Because they are providing us complete organizational solution in which every organization function, number one, retain its identity, and number two, interact, interconnect, and performs according to the organizational policies, manuals, and OLAs and SLAs. So this is first thing to understand. Second thing, this is digital transformation. So some organizations, and please, I would request everyone to give an ear. Some organizations are created as digital organizations. For example, Spotify. For example, Airbnb, Uber. What are these? These are digital organizations. They have come up with a technology which is fundamentally provided them a business model. So everyone in the ecosystem of, for example, Uber is using that technology. So for rider, passenger, organization, driver, supplier, HR, everyone is on that technology as an ecosystem enabler. So that's important to understand, that I call digital. So you talk about technology, you call about infrastructure. That's one. Two, some organizations which have not been created as digital organizations, they are in the process of digital transformation. They want to have digital presence, so they could be digitally visible. So that would be digital transformation initiative, which would take sufficient time, depends upon the size of the organization. So that's one thing to understand. So we are not stuck in between knowing what is innovation, knowing what is digital transformation. So these are treated separately. Now, yes, if the size of the organization is big and there are requirements, we could have several functions even in quality. For example, compliance, for example, design, for example, in R&D. That is not the issue that people working in compliance would consider, that people working in design. You are, I'm sure you're familiar with the word, for example, quality function deployment, QFD, ISO 16355. That's also a quality function, but not under compliance. That falls under design. So quality is there in the whole product life cycle across the ecosystem. We need to first of all position ourselves, number one, where we are today, number two, where we want to move forward in the emerging paradigm. And I have given you some roles in which you could grow and evolve yourself. Hope that answers the question.
That is phenomenal. Thank you so much for your very holistic look at the enterprise ecosystems, how they interrelate, and where we might have an opportunity to provide some thought leadership and some impetus for working stronger and better together going forward. Thank you so much, Zubair, and to all of our attendees tonight. If you would be so kind to let me share. Thank you, Zubair.
You're welcome.
I will just do our final wrap up here. So for those of you on the line, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you are new to ASQ Innovation or are not yet aware, we will have a link in the deck that we send out to all of you to our ASQE Insights on Excellence, which our wonderful guest speaker has many years of contributions within. If you are not a member, you can join ASQ or ASQE as an organizational member. I do want to recognize our phenomenal ASQ Innovation Division 2026 officers, Ms. Jackie Jolly, Ms. Sonia Montero, Mr. Gaurav Walia, our immediate past chair, Mr. Tracy Owens, and myself, your webinar chair. And again, if you have interest in joining the team or learning more about ASQ Innovation Division, please reach to our chair, Ms. Jackie Jolly, at the email there. And we invite you back on April 23rd for our upcoming Leading at the Crossroads of Innovation, AI, and the Future of Leadership. Visit us at our booth at WCQI and join us in June for real world AI ML case studies across industry and life science, as well as the rest of the lineup for the year, which you can find online at our events page. So again, without further ado, thank you so much again, Zubair, for your wonderful presentation tonight. We will post your deck and the recording shortly thereafter, and we will welcome you back again on April 23rd for our next Innovation Division event. Thank you. We hope you have a safe rest of the weekend, and we look forward to seeing all of you at WCQI 2026. Thank you, everybody, and good night.